For a long time, we avoided conjugation. I didn't want to confuse you, but then we finally got to regular AR, ER, and IR verbs, so all was well. You knew some verbs, and I had a new supply of words to use in my examples and no longer felt constricted. But recently, I've started to feel it again. I'd be making a video about adverbs, go to use a common but irregular verb like want or have, and be frustrated. In Spanish, as you know, verbs end in either AR, ER, or IR, and each of the three types of verbs have their own conjugation. That's where we change the ending of the words based on the subject. To talk is hablar, but I talk is hablo, and you talk is hablas. If that doesn't make sense, you need to go to gringoespanol.com right now and watch the videos on AR, ER, and IR conjugation. But sprinkled throughout all three types of verbs are exceptions. They're called irregular verbs. You've already seen a few irregulars actually. Ser, estar, and ir are all examples. Their irregular conjugations were covered in the three enemigos. The majority of these irregulars are also called stem-changing verbs because in addition to changing the ending, you have to change the root of the word or the stem. If you're confused, don't worry. It's really not that hard once you see it. You'll get used to it really quickly. And just the words you learn in this little lesson will open up the world to you tremendously. Do you think, want, and prefer things sometimes? Yeah, so do I. Hola, soy Jordan, and this is a Spanish Quickie. Fast, easy Spanish lessons from somebody who speaks your language. Okay, first thing you need to know. The stem-changing rules are verb-wide. They can apply to AR, ER, or IR verbs. So the normal conjugations you already know are for the endings of one specific type of verb, then stem changes are for the stems of all three types of verbs. It'll be clearer when you see an example. Entender is to understand. I mentioned it when I went over regular ER verbs because entender is very similar to comprender and also means to understand or comprehend. Remember, regular ER verbs conjugate like this: comprendo, comprendes, comprende, comprende, comprendemos, comprendeis, comprenden. Since entender is also an ER verb, we're going to use the ER endings, the same as comprender. But entender is an irregular stem-changing verb. For entender, we change the E in the middle of the stem to IE in all forms except nosotros and vosotros. Those are regular. So I understand is not entendo, it's entiendo. We change the E to IE and still use the O like we normally would. You understand is entiendes. He understands is él entiende. Then down here, they understand is entienden. For nosotros and vosotros, this doesn't apply. Just use the regular forms here. We understand is entendemos, and you both understand is entendeis. Got this? It's a little tricky at first because it's another rule you have to learn and remember when you're talking, when you already have to conjugate the endings and choose the sex of your nouns or adjectives. I get it, but don't freak out. If you get it wrong, it really is the equivalent of a child saying rand or run instead of ran. You wouldn't want your child to sit at home studying this until they got it perfectly before going out into the world to use it, would you? Plus, once you practice a little, this part really clicks quickly, much faster than normal conjugation. Because with stem changes, they're done to make the words sound better. I'm guessing that's why the rules developed in the first place. Entendo? I mean, I know it sounds weird to me now because I'm so used to the correct way, but it's really just not the sound of Spanish. Entiendo. Much better. Do you see what I'm talking about? I'm truly curious. Let me know in the comments. Okay, let's go to another few examples. Both comenzar and empezar mean to start. They're both AR verbs and both have an E to IE stem change. I start would be comienzo or empiezo. They really do mean the same thing. You start is comienzas or empiezas. She starts is ella comienza or empieza. Then we start, again, this form is regular, is comenzamos or empezamos. Then you both start is comenzais or empezais, and they start gets the stem change again, comienzan or empiezan. Now, empezar I think is more common. I say it way more for sure. But comenzar is a friend, it's the equivalent of commence, and it is used, and friends are basically free words. Notice that even though entender is an ER verb and comenzar and empezar are AR verbs, they follow the same stem change rules, but they still use their respective endings. Same holds true for IR verbs. To prefer is preferir. I prefer is prefiero. E turns to IE and we use the normal O. You prefer is prefieres. E turns to IE and we use the normal ES. You prefer formal is usted prefiere. Then nosotros and vosotros don't get the stem change. We prefer is preferimos, and you both prefer is preferís. Two more examples of E to IE verbs are cerrar, which is to close, and pensar, which is to think. I close is cierro, you close is cierras, he closes is él cierra, we close cerramos, you both close cerráis, and they close ellos cierran. Moving on to pensar, I think is pienso, you think piensas, she thinks, ella piensa, we think, pensamos, you both think, pensáis, they think, piensan. I'm sharing these specific words with you in this lesson because they're all super common. If you can use these words and understand them when they're said, you'll be able to say and understand way more stuff. This is really worth your time. To help you practice, head over to gringoespanol.com/quickies/stems1 where you can download a blank conjugation worksheet and use the conjugation strategy to practice these. If you already have your regular conjugations down pretty well, getting proficient in this stem change will probably take you no more than 15 minutes. So go there now. Just click the link below this video. The answer key is also provided there. And while you're there, hop onto the Gringo Espanol newsletter so that you get updated whenever I post a new video. I know Facebook doesn't show you my stuff half the time, and I never know when a new YouTube video is posted from somebody I subscribe to. Signing up for the newsletter will solve all that. I'll send you a quick email whenever I post something, no more than 2 to 3 times a week. Plus, subscribers to the newsletter get free trainings and discounts I don't offer publicly. I will see you next time. Hasta luego. Adios, amigo.